Hey guys, how are you doing? So today is Wednesday, and this is my first video this week. But being that it is Easter week, I wanted to kind of go over a few of the different events that happen in the Easter story. This past Sunday was Palm Sunday, and we've talked a lot about that. Had a blog about that. The sermon this past weekend was about Palm Sunday, and we talked a little bit last night during youth, just about kind of the lip service that people gave, following Jesus because it was the cool thing to do, following him because he was doing some really awesome things that people wanted to be a part of. But then also following the crowd and turning against him because that was what was the popular thing to do. That seemed to be where everyone was going. And so today, and I'll probably do a couple more, maybe one tomorrow and one Friday. But I just wanted to look at some of the other instances around the Easter story, kind of leading up to Jesus' death and right after it as well. And so today I was going to look at the Garden of Gethsemane. This was right after Passover. Just the night that Jesus is betrayed and he's taken captive by the high priest, betrayed by Judas, and then he has dinner. He has a Passover dinner with his disciples. He tells them that one of them is going to betray him. He tells Peter that he's going to deny him, and then he goes out to the garden to pray. Now, this going out to the garden to pray, this was a normal thing for them. He would do it all the time. This was where he went, and so this was standard. This is kind of the comfortable place. And he brought his disciples with him. But what happens there is kind of interesting. So in Mark, this is actually recorded in pretty much all the Gospels, I think. But in Mark is where we're going to read out of today. And if you go to chapter 14, and Mark chapter 14 in verse 32, it says this: "And they went to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, 'Sit here while I pray.' And he took with him Peter and James and John, and began to be greatly distressed and troubled. And he said to them, 'My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch.'" That word watch can also mean stay awake, kind of like give me some emotional support. Stay awake with me, be praying with me, because I'm having a really difficult time here. And going a little farther, he fell on the ground and prayed that if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. And he said, "Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Remove this cup from me. Yet, not what I will, but what you will." And he came and he found them sleeping. And he said to Peter, "Simon, are you asleep? Could you not watch 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." And again he went away and prayed, saying the same words. And again he came, and he found them sleeping, for their eyes were very heavy, and they did not know what to answer him. And he came the third time, and he said to them, "Are you still sleeping and taking your rest? It is enough. The hour has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand." So Jesus goes out into the garden to pray, and he's very, very stressed out. He says he's in agony. His soul is sorrowful, even to death. If you can imagine knowing that you are about to face your own death, knowing that your torture is coming, knowing that the separation from God, because it says that God turned his face away from Jesus when he had all the sin of the world put on him, knowing that every bad thing that you could possibly have come upon you is coming upon you, and very soon. And he's looking for strength. And he asks his disciples to come with him. And he leaves most of them in one area. And then he brings James and John and Peter a little bit farther, because those were kind of his closest friends. And he says, "I need you to help me. I need you to be praying for me. I need you to be supporting me. Just stay awake. I know it's late, but I need you to stay awake and be praying for me and giving me this emotional and support here." And then he goes and he's praying and he's agonizing over this, and he's telling God, he's like, "God, if there is any possible way that we can accomplish salvation for humanity without me having to undergo this death and this torture, Please let that happen. However, I am willing to do it. And if this is the only way, if this is the only way that this is going to be accomplished, then I will take it and I will do it. I will follow you. I will be obedient. I will suffer and I will die and I will be separated from you in order to bring about salvation. But if there's any other way, please let that happen. And of course, there wasn't, and he did have to go through it all. But he was stressed and he was agonizing. In other versions of this story, it says that he was sweating drops of blood, which is actually a medical condition that happens when you're under so much stress that the capillaries in your skin can actually burst and blood can come out of your sweat glands. And in another version, it also says that there was an angel that was sent to strengthen him, because God says, no, there's no other way, but you can do this, and I'm going to give you my help. But the interesting thing here is that he goes to pray, and then he comes back to James and John and Peter, and they're asleep. And he wakes them up, and he's like, guys, can you please just stay awake for me 1 hour? Just 1 hour. I'm about to undergo the most strenuous test and trial and torture that anyone could ever imagine. Can you stay awake with me 1 hour? And then he goes and he prays again to God, again saying, God, if there's any way that you can take this away from me, please do it, but I'm willing to go through with it. And he goes back and they're asleep again, and he does it a third time and they're asleep again. And finally he says, you know what, the time's here, and I'm about to be betrayed. But here's the thing, guys. So we often, we put the disciples and we put the people in the Bible up on these pedestals of like, they were these amazing people and there's no way that I can possibly obtain what they did. But these were normal guys. They were normal people just like you and me. And we see here that God himself is asking for support. God himself is asking that his closest friends stay awake with him and pray with him, and they still fall asleep. This is even after, Jesus predicts that Peter is going to deny him, and Peter's like, no, I will go to the grave for you. I will go to jail for you. I will do anything for you. But he literally can't even stay awake for an hour for him. And that's not to take anything away from Peter. And in our next video, we'll actually talk a little bit about Peter's denial here. But it brings about something important, though. It wasn't the God side of Jesus that needed this support. It was his humanity. It was the human side of him, because Jesus was 100% God and he was 100% man. And it was that 100% man that needed his friends to be there for him and needed his friends to support him. Even if they couldn't change anything, even if they couldn't do anything, he needed to know, he wanted to know that they had his back, that they were supporting him, that they were praying for him, that they were going through this trial with him as much as they could. And in the same way, guys, us as people, we need our friends. You need to have friends that are going to support you, that are going to stand behind you, that are going to stay awake late into the night just to be there for you. And you need to be that friend for other people as well. Again, I know that during this time, everyone is separated and things are weird and things are strange, but we can still be there for each other. And whether that is a phone call or a Zoom video or, even just a text, make sure that you are maintaining your relationships with your friends, that you guys are there for each other, that you're not falling asleep on one another. Because as we go through this, it can be easy to kind of lose contact. It can be easy to get frustrated and angry. It can be easy when we're not physically connecting to feel disconnected from people. But just like in this story of Jesus in the garden, and there's so much more stuff that we can learn from that too. But Jesus, the human side of Jesus, needed his close friends and wanted his close friends just to be there when he was going through a difficult time. And us as humans, we need our friends to be there for us. And so I really, really encourage you guys, make sure that you're reaching out to each other. Make sure that you are calling each other, that you're texting each other, that you're talking to each other, that you are lifting each other up, and that you are there for each other. So, with that, I just want to encourage you this week, guys, to be there for one another. It is Easter, and we have celebrations and family coming up here. Lift each other up, support one another, and then I will talk to you tomorrow. I know this was a long video today. I'll try and make the one tomorrow a little bit shorter. But have a great day, and we will see you later. Bye.